Unit 9, knowing your ideal client and reaching them. So in this unit, I'm going to discuss the idea of thinking about who your perfect couple are and producing a portfolio and a whole message that's directed towards them. And the whole emphasis of this is to be able to send the right message to the couple you want to appeal to. What you want to try and do is you want to reduce your inquiries and you want to convert more. So instead of saying having 150 inquiries and converting 15, in fact, I know a filmmaker that gets 1,500 inquiries a year and they shoot 150 weddings. So you're talking about 90% of the 1,500, which they're dealing with in emails and discussions and so on and quotes, which they lose. And then 150 of that 1,500 is what they shoot. So 10% of the 90. So they're converting 1 out of 9. And I don't think this is the right model in my view. So it's a high number of turnovers and it's complicated when you're shooting that much. But I think that you need to think about how many you want to shoot and then how can you produce a situation in which you're doing less for more. So you are maybe getting 10 inquiries and you're converting 8, but those are the right 8. So you're getting less inquiries, but they're the right inquiries. So I think that's all about the message, that your story, your portfolio, your bio, your brand is directed in the right way. And that will then exclude certain audiences. So what can that be? Well, we've spoken so much here about genre and about your bio and about your approach. And I think that's important. So you got to get that right. You got to get your bio, get your accolades right, get your work correct and consistent. And that's your start point. You don't necessarily need to be talking about price to approach the right people, but it's more about your tone. It's about the tone of your work and where you want to work. So if you want to work in barns, I think you need to make sure your portfolio is all about barns. So you're appealing towards brides that are having weddings in barns. If you're an urban street wedding look, then I think your work needs to reflect that. So think about where you want to go to and look in your portfolio, even if you're not there yet. So you look in your portfolio and you say, right, well, I've done 3 of those. This is what I want to get to. And I've done 3 of those this year. So then you populate your work with those 3. And then the following year, you populate another 3. So suddenly you're shaping your work over the years following to point towards that direction. So then when you get to where you want, your work is aimed directly at that couple, and that couple hear you speaking to them directly. And then that fits into all sorts of things then. At that moment, then you can start to link in with venues and planners around that whole discourse, around that whole story of where you're targeting. And you have the ideal couple contacting you. So in your project to reach your ideal client, it might be worth you considering getting advice from other people. So marketing companies, PR companies, people you trust. So I'm going to recommend Terry Lewis, and you'll find info about Terry in the resources section of the module. He's someone that will help you focus your message. And I think this is what you need to be concentrating on. Conscientize it. It's a word I keep using, conscientize, to make something conscious. I think this is a key part that will help you reach where you want to go. So I think it's always useful to consider in your existing set of weddings, who is your perfect couple, and then think about who in your future set of weddings that you plan to do or you want to do, who is your perfect couple. And hopefully you'll get to the point where what you've got in your book reflects who you want to speak to, and then it's working really well. But it's quite feasible that you have a perfect couple which is based on your shoots, and you're delighted with that perfect couple, but actually you have another couple that in your mind that you want to reach to. So you need to constantly be pushing what you existing got in your work so that you eventually line up to that couple. And that's done in lots of ways. So accolades are important, testimonies, and I think those testimonies should be from planners and venues and alignments that really say, you know, John is this, John is that, and so on, which establishes you in that area. Just think through what are the right testimonies to help you reach your goal. So I think it's worth in this process of thinking about who your ideal couple are. At the same time, to think about who your rival is, in a sense. Maybe that's a rival that you're aspiring towards. So you're not yet rivaling them, but you want to eventually rival them. And then look at what they're doing. So look at how they situate themselves, how they tell their story. What is it about their website that says certain things, that gives you certain messages, that tells a story about what you're getting when you book that person. And we can see that in all areas. And there's plenty of like marketing workshops and gurus and so on that will help in this area. But what I'm trying to do here is just to help you shape and think more consciously about your work and your message and how that relates to what you're sending out there and how that then feeds back to you. Because if you are getting 100 leads and you're converting 10 of them, and if you are getting a mix of weddings, then your message is blurred. And I think that's what you need to consciously work on.